Hi, I'm here with Michael Gruber. He is the founder of Cornerstone Angels. Michael, if you can please tell us who comprises the Cornerstone Angels.
Sure. We're a membership-based organization of high net worth individuals who are either successful entrepreneurs or executives and who have a real passion for early stage companies and helping both mentor them as well as invest in them.
And is there an industry focus in the companies that that pitch to you?
No, we're pretty broad in terms of the companies that we invest in. There are areas in which we do not invest in, or at least we're not active in, which includes life sciences, real estate, movies, and restaurants. But outside of that, we'll look at many things, and there's always exceptions to the rule. But where we spend a lot of our time is across software, internet, mobile, industrial, energy, consumer products. Those are as well as healthcare services and med devices.
Sure. And how much do you typically invest in a company?
It ranges obviously based upon the interest level from our members. In the sweet spot is we're looking at typically between 100,000 to 500,000 per company. But sometimes depending upon the interest, we've invested over $1 million in a particular company. Sometimes we aggregate our investments as a group. Other times we may just have a few individuals and they may invest directly into the company.
Okay. And what do you typically look for in the companies that you invest in?
There's a few major things. One is management. Number two is sort of big market. Three is the ability to rapidly scale on an efficient capital base. And then the last is to be able to have a good perspective about what a potential exit may be, down the road as well.
And so in terms of management, what is a good management team to you?
One is, number one is the management team has to be passionate about that idea. As you can see, many times a company goes through all sorts of ups and downs with the life, and in the end, they need to be sort of committed to their idea. Obviously, the business model may change, but they need to be sort of wedded to the company, whatever it may be. And so that's more than anything. Obviously, experience helps, as well as experience not only in terms of functional experience, but experience in the industry. But more than anything, also you want someone in the management and founders to be mentorable, people willing to listen, and people willing to be flexible about doing and changing as the market conditions may require.
Sure. And what strategies do the Cornerstone Angels use to create value? And if you can give us a use case of a company you worked with, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. So one is we try, and we've been doing this more and more recently, is to really have a very strong focus on monitoring and governance within the company. So we like as a strategy to continue to make sure that the company is on a continual basis communicating the metrics of their operations, communicating both the positives and the negatives. Because in the end, this is important not only for your partners but your investors. The more you communicate, the more likely they are to be able to help you out. And if you wait until the last minute to talk about a negative condition, people start losing faith, and that usually is sort of a death knell when you want to raise capital. It makes it much easier to sort of get help and much easier to raise capital. And then from the governance side is also trying to put the right structures in place to have for voting, to bringing in, to sort of accept and evaluate large strategic and financing options. And then the next key strategy is always, again, if we want to build this business, we want it to make money, but in the end, for investors to make money, there needs to be an exit or liquidity event of some kind. And so one of the strategies is to try to have and facilitate with the company to have them interact with some of the larger companies in their market or space, either as partners on projects or anything else, so that both the larger companies get to know them, and hopefully this could facilitate a liquidity event down the road.
Now, do you take companies public at all?
Well, we don't take them public. Obviously, that's one of the exit scenarios. Either the exits can be one. You could have some type of recapitalization where an investor comes in and we get paid on that. Other times companies may be cash flowing, and so there's dividends. But a third is, like you mentioned, is the IPO event. But the most common scenario is that a company gets acquired, by another company in the space. And that's one of the things where Cornerstone has been very fortunate about, compared to other organizations such as ours, where we've had a good number of companies that have both gone public as well as that have been acquired. In the end, we really don't care which way it is. We just realize that going public is a very small possibility. Our goal is to build up meaningful organizations first, and with the belief that you'll then find another company to possibly acquire it.
Great. And Michael, what would you say makes Cornerstone different from other angel groups in Chicago?
Number one is our network of folks and our ability both for sourcing deals across the country. We are not specific to only looking at deals within Chicago or within the Midwest. I spent a good number of years out in Silicon Valley. I have strong relationships there. One of our strong features is that we have a network of entrepreneurs and investors across the country. So that both helps any companies that come to us, that if we invest, we're very helpful in trying to push out that company to get other funding. It also allows us to participate in fundings outside of the area. Our goal is to find the most promising companies, regardless of where they are. We've been at this for a very long time, and so if you just look at sort of the number of companies we've invested in, which is pretty significant, and the success rate of where we've had a number of exits, we've been able to have a very good rate. We have a very good hands-on orientation in terms of our screening of companies. Our members are very active in that process. And so, I believe that we both have a large amount from our deal flow funnel to our selection criteria has been very efficient. And so we're able to find the right companies, and we're able to find the right investors to sort of co-invest with us. The two other aspects are, which our members are very excited about, is, as well as our entrepreneurs, we have a very strong focus on mentorship. So when companies get involved with us, we try to look for where there's a good fit between our members and the companies, and try to help them in any functional way that they need. And then the last item is this philanthropy section, which is pretty unique in terms of other angel groups, that we have this strong interest in giving and giving back. And so a lot of our members are involved with either their own personal foundations or charities. And so a lot of our efforts are trying to support our members in their charities and foundations, and so ongoing every year, try to participate in events where we could give back to the community, because obviously this is all about making money, but it's also about sort of creating a better world at the same time.
Definitely. And Michael, can you walk us through the process of screening a startup?
Sure. Again, this deal flow that we have, we see between 300 to 400 companies a year. And we have 10 meetings a year, 5 screening meetings and 5 investment meetings. So within each period of time, you would say we have anywhere from 20 to 45 companies which we're reviewing. They are sort of pre-screened based upon sector, sort of the management, the size of the opportunity, whether it seems like a good idea. And so those are originally sort of a pre-screen. After that, we utilize our members as well as the management team of Cornerstone to do a further selection, of which we then are selecting 5 to 9 companies to participate in the screening session, of which we have a screening committee. They participate in, they give a short presentation, there's Q&A, and based upon that, we then pick the next the best 2 to 4 companies that will then present for a larger investment meeting in front of our entire membership.
Wow, that's great. And Michael, I have one last question for you. What advice would you give to a startup company who's looking for funding?
Yeah, one is to understand that it's a difficult road, but a very exciting road. And number one thing is, I think it's a lonely place if you're doing it alone. So I think it's always important to find a partner to be able to do it with, where you could bounce ideas off of, and you could lift the other person up when you're down. The other person could do the same to you. Number two is really to try to bootstrap and fund it yourselves and through friends and family first. To really be able to show that you have a product or service, show that you have some type of customer or commercial validation up front first before you actually go out for funding. And then the idea is, before you even go out for funding, the idea is that you should always be always be selling, always sort of pre-selling your company way in advance of ever going for funding, because it's those efforts that are going to put you in a good space so that you would be more likely to have these folks warmed up, and you're not sort of in a urgent need for capital, but you're in a good place. You already know these folks, so that's a more likely chance that you'll raise funding within a short period of time.
Sure. That's great advice, Michael. Thank you.
All right.
And if you're interested in learning more about Michael Gruber and Cornerstone Angels, go to fundology.com.